This is TRU3 Podcast with your host, TRU CARR. And today I wanted to talk about the mother wound. And I want to also share my experience with my own mother wound and how I got through it and how I healed from it, and also how I'm still working through it in my own life. And first and foremost, I want to talk about what a mother wound is and how it can affect you and also your relationships. And so I'm a spiritual person, so a lot of the times the way I explain things is on a spiritual level, but it'll all come together and make sense in a wholeness of it. So first and foremost, I want to talk about the chakra system. And for me personally, I'm just going to talk about the top half of your chakra system in order for me to really, because I feel like the top half of your chakra system is a part of your the mothering aspect or the nurturing aspect in your life, whoever played a part in that type of dynamic, whether it was healthy or unhealthy. I feel like that will show up in your upper chakras, which is your heart chakra, your throat chakra, your third eye, and your crown chakra. And if those are unbalanced, what that looks like if you have a mother wound is when it comes to your heart chakra, you not being open to receiving or giving, or you not being open, are you either one, being too open to where you're not protecting yourself enough and you are easily wounded, or you're too sensitive to where anybody can trigger you or take energy from you, or whatever the case may be. Or either you're too closed off to where you're not letting anybody in and you're not allowing yourself to just be in a flow state, or you're too much in a flow state, either way. And so it's important to understand that when it comes to a mother wound, when you are dealing with a mother wound, it's either you're too open or you're too closed off, and you don't have a balance within both of those to where you are allowing yourself to be open, but also being a protector. Because when it comes to your heart chakra, to me, that is where your masculine and your feminine energy aligns. And when it comes to your mother and your father, that is also where that energy aligns, to where they're both a part of that chakra. And so that can play a big role in whether you are open or closed off to love or receiving, or being open to give as well. And when it comes to your throat chakra, that puts you in a position to where either you don't know your truth, or you allow other people to tell you what your truth is, or you're too afraid to speak up, or you speak up too much when you need to be quiet in that moment, or you are trying to force other people to see your point of view, or when you don't even see your own point of view, or you are in a space of always yelling or going from 0 to 100 instead of allowing yourself to nurture your own emotions, or allowing, or just being firm in what you are saying and being confident in what you have to say or who you are as an individual. And when it comes to your third eye, it has a lot to do with, if you have a mother wound, it has a lot to do with only allowing yourself to believe what you see, only moving off of logic and not leaving room for miracles to happen, or for things to flow naturally, or not being in a space of trusting yourself or trusting the universe or whatever you believe in. Or when it comes to your crown chakra, being closed off to a higher power, or being closed off to there being something more to life. Or it puts you in a position when you have a mother wound and you have a closed off crown chakra, it puts you in a position to where you either have a God complex, to where you feel like you have to save everybody, or it puts you in a position to where you are putting somebody else in that God role in your life, which either puts you in a space of being a victim or victimizing somebody else, being in a space of either being abused or being the abuser. And I think that's important to understand when it comes to having a mother wound. You deal with that type of dynamic when it comes to not seeing your own worth, not knowing your own worth, not connecting to what real worth is or what you deem real worth as internally, or being full of chaos and not knowing how to balance that out, and balancing your feminine and masculine energy as well, and not being in a receiving state, or not being able to, because I think it's important to understand as well that, to me, masculine and feminine energy, or your chakra system, is just the same side, a different side of the same coin. So for example, right, the head is the masculine, which is because your first chakra is your root chakra, which is a part of your masculine energy, and then your sacral chakra and your solar plexus, and then it goes to your heart chakra, which connects the feminine and the masculine. And I think the root chakra is just the same. I think the root chakra is just the same thing as your crown chakra, but it's just one is grounded in earth and one is grounded in spirituality. And I think that's important to understand. So it's just the same side of a different side of the same coin. And I think that's important to understand when it comes to, working with your masculine and feminine energy, and understanding how to balance it out as well. But how that played out for me in my own life is, and how I healed from my mother wound is, honestly, I think that in some cases, in order to heal from your mother, you have to cut them off and allow yourself to heal in that way, but also not be afraid of feeling and not be afraid of being lost for a moment in order for you to truly find yourself as well. But for me personally in my life, starting from the beginning, for me personally in my life, my mom wasn't a stable or safe space for me to place my emotions or place anything for that matter. And I think that because, for example, right, how my life played out is, from a young age, we moved around a lot. And starting from the first move when I was about, I would say like 8 or 9, that really made an impact is when me and my mom and my siblings had to move we went from one state living with, one of the people that we knew from church, and then we ended up moving to this homeless shelter for just women and kids. And then her sister ended up picking us up. We ended up moving from Georgia to Louisiana, and we ended up staying with her sister for a little bit, and then we ended up moving again in that same area with an older woman that my mom met. And so from that point, we just ended up moving a lot. And I remember one time my mom, she disappeared, and everybody was trying to find her because it was a small town. So the road that we stayed on was, everybody was close knit and everybody was family as well. I think that those people were, everybody, like, it was like 4 houses in a row, and everybody on that street was blood family. And so, and the woman we were staying with were their grandmother, was their great grandmother and their grandmother and things of that nature. And so when my mom disappeared, they were trying to find her. And I remember just feeling like, because they were also talking about, foster care, oh, well, if she don't pop up, if she don't show up, then we're gonna have to, call the people or whatever the case may be. And I think that that was just the initiator of me just understanding, or me just feeling unsafe. And I think just moving around so much and my mom needing other people's help so much. And then, like I said, I was like 9, and I was in like the 4th grade, and that was like the beginning of like moving around so much. Like being in 3rd grade and then going from 3rd grade to 4th grade, that was the beginning of just consistently and constantly like moving around so much. And then I ended up going to 6th grade, and we were living with my mom's boyfriend, and he was living in this like broken down trailer, and it was like rats. It was like holes in the floor, and it was like rats just running everywhere. And I remember one time my mom got mad because she wanted me to go to my room, which was in the back of the trailer, and I was like, no, it's a rat that keep running back and forth. And she got mad as hell, and she was like, if you don't go back there, like invalidating the fear that I had. And so my mom wasn't really like, she's a very emotional person, but she wasn't emotionally available for me. Like, she wasn't ever there to validate my emotions. If I was crying, it was like, you better suck it up, or but it was in a space of always wanting me to be there for her emotions as well. So I learned that I had to push my emotions in and just be there for other people's emotions as well from my mom. And so playing the role of like the strong person and never really showing my emotions, and when I did, it just was pure anger or too emotional, because I didn't have that balance of being able to express my emotions in a healthy way. And so also, me in 6th grade, when we were staying with my mom's boyfriend, she ended up going to jail for a night or whatever the case may be, and I ended up being alone with him in that space and time. He used that time to molest me as well. And I remember him having to take me to school, and because I ended up missing a bus, and he ended up taking me to school, and I went to school, and I took a chair and I put it by the bathroom or whatever, and the teachers noticed, like, they were trying to talk to me, and they noticed that I was being off. And so I ended up telling them what happened. And and when things happen like that, they have to take you out of the house or whatever the case may be. So I ended up me and my sister ended up having to go to foster care. But before I went to foster care, I stayed with one of my teachers, and I finally felt safe somewhere. But instantly, I felt like the foster care people instantly came and got me, because they said that she had too many babies in the house or whatever the case may be. So my sister couldn't come over there and stay as well. And they wanted to make sure that me and my sister stayed together. But I feel like in my life, I was abandoned by my mom a lot. And honestly, I feel like I was abandoned by both parents a lot. But also to me growing up, I realized why things played out the way they did, and I understand that, but also like within that dynamic of being in foster care, I my mom ended up getting us out of foster care, but we ended up staying with a whole nother man. And so just not ever feeling safe again after that. Like after we went to foster care when I was in the 6th grade, I always feared going back to foster care. Like I always feared going back to foster care because I knew, because when we were in foster care, they were like, y'all never gonna, basically like shoving it down our throats that we were never going to get out of foster care, and it wasn't going to be quick and it wasn't going to be easy. And then my mom ended up getting us out of foster care, and then like just from that point on, I was just scared to go back to foster care because they were telling us like, it's like a system. Once you go into foster care, it's just like a system. So I was afraid. I was always afraid of going back into foster care. And I remember my 9th grade year, my mom ended up getting into a really, really bad car accident as well. And we were staying with these people, but we were staying with them before she got in that car accident. So she was on her way to bring us food, and I remember like her being in that car accident and the woman coming to tell us, and I was crying so hard, and the woman was like, you gotta be strong, you can't be crying. And my sister wasn't crying, and she was like, see, you gotta be like her, you can't be crying. So that also played a part in my life of like feeling like I couldn't be emotional, I couldn't show my emotions to other people as well. And so just being in that space, and then being and seeing my mom, like she had to wear a cast and she had a broken shoulder and a broken knee, and just that heaviness, and feeling like I couldn't talk about it or express anything to anybody about the situation. And then I remember being in class one day, and this girl, she was saying how her mom got in an accident, and she was just like crying, and she was like saying how her mom was okay, she just had a scratch on her forehead or something like that. And it irritated me because I was like, damn, you sitting here crying about your mom just having a little scratch, and my mom is in a nursing home needing somebody else to wipe her ass. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so for me, I was like, damn, like people get to feel their emotions and I can't. Like, I was just holding on to so much anger, and I felt like I could never talk about my anger with anybody. I could never tell anybody what I ever went through, or you know what I'm saying? And I felt like, I don't know. But I felt very, like during those time frames, like I never really stayed with my mom or had like a solid foundation of her having her own place until I was in the 11th grade. And by that time, I didn't want to really stay around her or be around her because she also had mental health problems, to where, she had schizophrenia, or, she would always walk around and say, it's something in my ear, it's something talking to me, it's something. And she was also very emotionally abusive as well. And so I just didn't want to stay around her. So I would go stay with my friends. Or when I ended up getting a girlfriend, I ended up staying with my girlfriend just to stay away from my mom. And so as I grew older and became an adult, and I had to end up staying with her, I realized that my mom is not even somebody that I wanted to be raised by as well. And so like coming to that conclusion and feeling that pain as well, and really allowing myself to be in a space of healing, because I started my healing journey when I was 21, and I ended up coming across this Because first and foremost, I was listening to tarot readings, and I was listening to tarot readings about love. And then I started to click on tarot readings on what I need to heal, because I realized too, like within those tarot readings, they were telling me that I was accepting different type of relationships and different type of dynamics because I didn't feel worthy enough. And so I then looked up, I ended up coming across, I think it was Soul Illuminati or somebody, I don't know. And then I ended up looking up meditations, and that's how I came across meditations when I was like 21 years old. And I found this one meditation by Aaron Doughty, and it was a meditation surrounding self-worth. And it was the first time that I ever felt an inner body experience. And I don't know if y'all heard of that before, but it's I hear a lot of people talking about outer body experiences and being out of their body and things of that nature, but within that time frame, it was the first time that I felt an inner body experience. The first time that I felt my own energy. The first time that I felt safe within my own body, and it scared the hell out of me. It scared me to where I had to stop the meditation, and I just was like, whoa, that was too intense. And then I started going back to it, and I started just allowing myself to feel in that uncomfortable safeness within myself. And that was just the start of my healing journey, and allowing myself to feel safe within myself. And it was a long ass journey, not gonna lie, because my mom wasn't the only person that I needed to feel my emotions for. You know what I mean? I also had my sister, which also played a mother role. And if you know anything about siblings playing mother roles in your life, when they're kids themselves, that comes with a whole nother form of trauma. And so I think, especially being raised by chaos, she wasn't ready to be stepping a role of playing second mother. You know what I'm saying? And so it was a whole nother thing of me needing to heal and decenter another person from my energy as well. So it was just a whole journey. And I think what started my healing journey and what started me to really see that I needed to do some work is my last relationship as well. I'm 28 right now, and so my last relationship was like when I was 20, about to turn 21. And so me having to disconnect, because within that time frame, like, I had a best friend that I was like my sister, and I had to disconnect from her, and I had to disconnect from that ex, and me realizing that I needed to forgive myself because I felt like I was just settling, and me losing also another ex that I felt like was the person that I was meant to be with as well. That was a whole nother ex. So all over the place when it came to romance, and also me being in that time frame of feeling like I needed to disconnect from my sister in that space and time. So all of that being so heavy on me, and then disconnecting from, feeling like I needed to disconnect from my actual mom in that time and space, like all of that being so heavy on me put me automatically in a spiritual awakening of realizing that I needed to do some work on myself. And so that was the start of my journey of healing when I was 21, and I started to just lose people, and I started to feel like I needed to disconnect from people that were so important to me, and realizing that I didn't feel important to me, And so it was a long journey of just self-love as well, and still a journey of self-love. But when it came to that mother wound, it's just, I didn't feel like I was enough. Also, being in a space of when I was younger, I was never able to speak for myself. Every time I tried to speak for myself, my sister would jump in or my mom would jump in before me and try to say what I felt. And because I didn't have a sense of my own backbone or a sense of my own self-worth, I would let them tell me who I was or tell me what I was feeling or whatever the case may be. And so, like, just now really fully coming into who I am and now healing from a father wound, like, to really start to express outwardly the things that I've been working on inwardly, like the things that I've been working on within myself, and finally bringing that out into the world. And also, like I said, like being a grown adult and having to break down all of the childhood wounds, and then being in a space where I felt forced to stay with my mom to really see what I would have been dealing with as a child if I was raised by her. And you know, when it comes to mental health, it doesn't do anything but decline when you don't take care of it. So my mom, me getting the worst of her, like as an adult, not being able to, ending up, you know, messing up my knee and having to stay with her and feeling stuck within that environment and going to physical therapy and just feeling like that was the only escape that I had from her house, because we also didn't have a car and I also didn't have a car to get away. So physical therapy being my only escape from somebody that is dealing with severe mental health issues, where they're yelling every day, they're slamming everything every day, every single day. They're, you know, saying, get out of my ear every single day. You know, being called weak, being called a bitch, being called out of my name, being called, like, just every day, like feeling no sense of relief. And staying with her for a year, and that year feeling like 3 years, like it was just so heavy. And then finally getting away from there and moving back in with my dad and realizing that now I have this father wound that I need to heal from, and realizing too that me having and being put in a position to have to stay with them made me realize as well that I was put in those positions to face the truth of myself and face the truth of the work that I really needed to put in within myself to really be a healthier individual. So allowing myself to feel and allowing myself to understand the underlying wounds that I really needed to work on. Understanding how much power I was giving away to people, and how much I didn't see my own worth, or how much I didn't value myself, or how much I was trying to force other people to see me, or force other people to love me, or being too open and too vulnerable to people that were trying to break me, or whatever the case may be. So like, just doing the healing work to allow myself to be more safe, to be my safe space, and allow my emotions to flow, and allow myself to be angry, and allow myself to feel what I need to feel. And also completely like cutting my mom off and cutting people off, and being in the space and being okay with being judged for that as well, because I understood how detrimental, like it took me a very long time to just completely cut my mom off. And so now, because I live with my dad, she still pops up and tries to be in my space and things of that nature. But because I know how toxic that connection is and how toxic the situation was, because like I said, at the age of 21 I knew it was time for me to cut my mom off, and I completely cut her off at the age of, like, it was a back and forth thing until the age of like 26. So like it was long periods where I didn't connect with her, but it was still like completely just saying, okay, it is okay for me to understand that this is too toxic for who I want to be and who I am becoming. And so completely cutting her off at like really the age of 20, the beginning years of my 20, of 27, and finally feeling justice or justified in how I feel, and validating my own emotions within that as well. But I think it's important to deal with your mother wound and allow yourself to feel what you need to feel. And if you're not ready to let go, don't let go until you're ready to let go. So that way it's not a back and forth thing, or that way, or just allowing yourself to go at your own pace. So that way when you're done, you are done. So I think it's important to just understand, in order to heal your mother wound, you have to allow yourself to feel, what you need to feel for her. You have to allow yourself to be uncomfortable with trusting yourself, be uncomfortable with finally leaning into your emotions as well. And I think that's important to understand. But that's all I got energy to talk about for today. But I hope y'all got something from this. If you did, make sure that you leave a green heart emoji in the comments, or whatever heart emoji you want to leave in the comments, just to boost this video and bring more eyes to the video. But make sure that you also like and subscribe as well if you want to see more of my content. And yeah, this is TRU3 Podcast with your host, TRU CARR.